Never a dull moment, folks. Never a dull moment in college football. So that's right. Welcome into a USC and UCLA, and maybe more, not to be named yet, are aiming to join the Big Ten as soon as 2024. And how does that impact Notre Dame moving forward? Edition of the Always Irish Show. YouTube, as always, hit follow if you haven't yet. I'd appreciate that. Subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. Hit the notification so you're alerted every time new information drops like today. Wasn't planning on doing a show. Big news breaks. You got to do a show. Content's king. Twitter. Search bar Always Irish or at Always Irish Inc. Emails alwaysirishindy@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want me. Call in line 312-900-8815. If people want, this entire topic can become a call-in show. You guys let me know. Discuss how you'd like Notre Dame to react to all this news. We could do that. Let me know. We'll hook it up. Turn the phone lines on. So college football keeps delivering. There is no offseason anymore. I've been tweeting this. There is no offseason in college football. It's just different versions of college football seasons. With all of the shifting and the conference realignment, what's going to happen with the playoff, all of the NIL and the recruiting. I've never seen recruiting followed the way it is this year. So there's no offseason. It's just different versions of college football seasons now. And I'm here for it, quite frankly. So bombshell report today, scrolling through Twitter, USC and UCLA and more, not named yet, looking to move to the Big Ten 2024. Add in, of course, that we already know the two biggest brand names in the Big 12 will be heading to the SEC. Of course, Texas and Oklahoma, we know that. So let's sit here, set the stage, and look at what this does kind of in the short term before we know all of the official details and other dominoes that are going to fall. Let's just look at it right now. As I sit right now, 5 different bullet points entered my head as a Notre Dame guy analyzing this dynamic. Let's go over them. Here's number 1. This essentially kills the Pac-12 as it exists currently in its current state. The Pac-12 now, without USC and UCLA, to me, the Pac-12 can go ahead and slowly dissolve to end up disappearing underneath the Pacific Ocean coastline, just like the actual state of California is doing already. I don't see how they could survive losing their most traditional football program, USC, and their most traditional historical basketball program, UCLA, and keep it moving. I don't see how they could exist, even with those two marquee programs. This conference has been struggling financially, revenue-wise. They've already been in trouble. This conference is already in trouble without losing their two most historic programs, one in basketball, one in football. So, to me, unless they figure out something to hook up with the Big 12 and they do their own mega conference kind of out west somewhere, I don't know. But as the Pac-12 sits now, it's dead. There's no way it's not. So something else is going to have to shift with that dynamic. Because as they sit now, it's over. Dead. Drowned in the Pacific. Okay? Number 2. It's obvious to everybody paying attention, the SEC and the Big Ten are the two dominant power-playing forces right now, it seems. I have seen a lot of people on Twitter, college football writers, people keyed into these discussions behind the scenes say one way this could end up ending is the Big Ten and the Big Ten and the SEC seem to be taking the power leads here to end up in a scenario where there's the Big Ten and the SEC, and there's 20 teams in each, and that's it. And there you go. And everybody fills in their slot. A lot of people think that's coming. I don't know. But it's obvious in the dynamic of the shifting teams and conferences. The SEC and the Big Ten are taking the lead in terms of making moves, in terms of where the most money is. Those are the two power players right now. Number 3, this is pretty obvious, and I've already alluded to it. The ACC, the Big 12, the Pac-12 have to be scrambling right now. This cannot be 4th of July week. Let's drink a few cold ones and light off some fireworks. Those 3 conferences have to be scrambling to figure out what their next move is, how they're going to survive and not get eaten alive by these 2 power players. Here's number 3. And I like this one. Life just got a lot harder for Lincoln Riley in my mind. And as a Notre Dame guy, I'm all for it. I like it. Here's the most obvious thing now. Lincoln Riley went to the Pac-12, and instantly, to me, USC's the power player favorite from now on, just because of the way that guy's going to be able to recruit to USC. We're already seeing some of that. And how little I think of the rest of the quality of the teams in that conference are. So I looked at it as, instead of Lincoln Riley staying at Oklahoma and then having to go play all the SEC schools still coming down the road when they make that switch from Big 12 to SEC. But he went out west where he's the only power player out there, in my opinion, should be able to out-recruit Utah and Oregon in that conference, get all the top West Coast talent that has no interest in leaving the West Coast, right? Now, that plan's scrapped. He went from premier top program in that conference. If you're going in the Big Ten, then you're already behind Ohio State, and that's a major roadblock, right? You now have to make that travel, that Big Ten travel from LA all the way across the country to play at, Penn State, right? That's Notre Dame type travel that Pac-12 teams USC isn't used to. There's going to be a lot of that travel mileage that comes into play that no one wants to talk about affecting Notre Dame. That's going to be in play for USC now. Also, do not think it isn't lost on me that USC doesn't like playing in cold weather late in the year. Not going to be a way around that now. USC is going to end up playing a lot of ball games in freezing temperatures, sleet, freezing rain, and snow later in the year in this Big Ten. But you know what? They don't like that, but they like money a lot more than it's worth it, right? Like the big picture and the financial benefit is worth them being uncomfortable. But that is going to be wild to see USC playing in the snow in November at Iowa or something, right? So life got harder for Lincoln Riley in some ways, in my humble Notre Dame opinion. He went from being the man, the program, to if they do this, they're not. That's a big shift to me. Which brings me to my final point, the one you all are probably most interested in if you're a Notre Dame fan watching this program. Where does all of this leave Notre Dame right now? Here's my opinion. I thought for a while, if it was going to be the moves of Texas, Oklahoma to the SEC, then things were going to stay stable. I was looking at the financial numbers, feeling like there may be a point where Notre Dame can no longer afford to lose the revenue they would be gaining from being in a conference full-time. Most likely, up until today, I'd say most likely it was joining the ACC. So I've been feeling maybe some pressure there with TV money adding up and what the difference would be if you're not doing that. Feeling like Notre Dame may have to make a decision soon as far as that goes. Now that I see these drastic, huge, seismic changes out of nowhere, Pac-12 leadership said they had no idea. Now they're screwed. They said we got Texas and Oklahoma where we didn't know it was coming, and then one day there it is. And now you're in a horrible spot. With all these changes and playoff changes that we don't know what they're going to be, because it seems like we need to let all this stuff settle down with realignment before they want to look at the next formatting. With all that going on, my advice to Notre Dame for now would be chill out and do nothing. That's my advice. I've seen some people like, oh man, things are changing fast. Notre Dame better make a decision and figure it out. Why? Why? Notre Dame is in a great position in all this. They're in a great position. They're not like Oregon today going, now our conference is destroyed. Our best opponent left. Like, where does that leave us? Notre Dame's not beholden to any of that. So Notre Dame's in a great spot now. Fill out your schedules the way you've been doing it independently. Take your NBC money. And for the near future, just sit back, see what else happens with these teams, with the realignment. See where the TV money is, where these deals are. Sit there, keep doing it the way you're doing it, but pay close attention to all this stuff. Then, when the dust is settled and the major tidal waves of these big sea changes and conference realignment are pretty much settled with the biggest dominoes that could fall, then Notre Dame should sit there and evaluate where they're at, where they want to be, what the revenue's like, and make a decision from there. Notre Dame is under no pressure at all to make any decision soon or fast or a rash one. It's just not needed. It's not needed. Whether this ends up 2 mega super conferences or 3 or whatever this is going to look like, which nobody could say right now because nobody knows. Whatever it's going to look like, whatever that dynamic is, whether there's 2 big entities or 3 or whatever, they're all going to want Notre Dame because it adds to their value and their TV revenue. So all of them are going to be fighting to get Notre Dame. Notre Dame should feel no pressure at all right now, at all. Chill out, wait, let all the big dominoes fall, reevaluate where you are at competitively, distance from a championship, and financially compared to all these different potential arrangements. Then make a decision. If it ends up the ACC starts dying off, then you're just going to have to buy out your contract to the ACC, stay independent, or join the Big Ten. If it's a mega conference, so much money, good deal, then you join a Big Ten that looks nothing like the Big Ten we grew up with, right? But for now, Notre Dame should do nothing at all. Sit there, watch the carnage, watch the other 3 conferences that aren't the big movers stress and sweat and worry about what they're going to do. Let everybody do that. It doesn't affect us. Sit there with some cold lemonade on 4th of July weekend. Watch it all unfold. Reevaluate where you're at then. I used to think if Notre Dame was joining a conference, ACC made sense. You're already half in bed with them in football, fully in bed for everything else, including academics. I don't know if I think that anymore. If this is going to be a 2 mega conference deal, then the Big Ten one is a natural fit for Notre Dame. Things are changing fast and it's wild. But for now, Notre Dame's in a great spot. Whatever entities are left standing at the end of this are all going to want Notre Dame. Notre Dame can decide what they want to do then. It's a really actually pretty nice spot. So I would advise Notre Dame to do nothing. But this is a wild offseason for college football, and it's not done yet. Stay tuned. We got more recruit announcements come, and I got a little video to follow each one for the rest of the week. Let's go, Irish.